Thank you so much for joining us to share what it was like behind the scenes of your new film, Pandemic.
Thank you for having me.
I understand that since this was a period piece, the costume department was very committed to creating a historically accurate look. Yes, they did such beautiful work, but we had to wear historically accurate underwear too. That's some dedication. What was it like? Honestly, it was torture. I don't know how people used to do anything in these. They were so tight it cut off my circulation. Oh my goodness. And there's metal in them. There's these pieces of steel to like push and lift you into the right shape. They dug in so badly I had red marks and chafing every day after I took the costume off. I nearly fainted on set twice. That sounds awful. I'm so glad we don't have to wear torture devices like bras anymore. If you've spent much time at all watching historical costume videos, you've probably heard the fact that corsets were just doing the job of a bra discussed 6 ways from Sunday. If you haven't, let me save you some time. This has been discussed 6 ways from Sunday. To speak frankly, people with, well, busts often like to have said busts supported for a variety of practical and aesthetic reasons. I've heard the average historical corset wearer's attitude described as everything from the patriarchal torture device mythos that somehow had people surgically removing ribs in an era where an uncomfortably high number of surgeries ended with death by sepsis, to asserting that they were more comfortable than modern bras in every way and we should all immediately start wearing corsets again. So I thought, why don't we actually compare what historical corset wearers said about their undergarments to what bra wearers today have to say about ours? Hi, I'm V, fashion history nerd, bust owner, and wearer of both bras and corsets. I've talked about my struggles with getting a corset to fit comfortably before. Turns out having fibromyalgia and a giant curve in your spine makes that kind of tricky, but I think I'm finally ready to add my hot take to the pile of hot takes about how comfortable corsets actually were for the people that wore them their entire lives. If you, like me, are a slut for good source info, you can find all of that on my Patreon, plus shiny bonus content, monthly sewing circle chats, and more. You have to tell them to subscribe. What kind of YouTuber are you? Good point. Subscribe for more fashion history snark. It's pretty much all we do here. Ooh, I just realized I've been in my new place for like 2 months now and I haven't shown you around at all. We're in the living room right now, but I just finished this big decorating project in my bedroom. Come on. I literally just put up these curtains and everything today, and I am so happy they go with my linen sheets from Brooklinen. By the way, Brooklinen is giving you $20 off any order over $100 if you use my code SNAPPY20 at checkout. Click the link below. Brooklinen makes high-quality bed sheets and home essentials at a more affordable price point by cutting out the middleman, because everyone deserves nice things. Being able to set up and decorate my new house with the things I find beautiful and comfortable has made such a difference in my mood. It also helps that I did not have to leave the house to get these. The Linen Hardcore bundle includes a sheet set, extra pillowcases, and a duvet cover with over 20 colors and patterns you can mix and match. You can mix and match sizes too, and the bundles cost 25% less than the same pieces individually. These linen sheets are OEKO-TEX certified and dyed in small batches, and they're as lightweight and breezy as a good linen always is. I've had this set around 3 months now, and they really have gotten softer with every wash. In my experience, it takes a good linen up to 10 washes to really break in. These were pretty great when I first got them, and they're only going to get better. It's so nice, especially in the winter, to have my big snuggly duvet but not overheat because linen is so cooling and breathable. If you too would like some unbelievably comfy bed sheets that should last years and years, if the history of linen sheets is anything to go by, Brooklinen is giving you $20 off any order over $100 with my code SNAPPY20 at checkout. The link is in the description. Now, back to talking about underwear. Most of us historical costumers focus on corsets as custom-made items because, well, for us, they have to be. You can't just walk into a clothing store and see 10 different types of corset in standardized sizing, try them on, have somebody help you choose the right brand and style. You know, the way you can with bras. I think we need to remember that the historical corset wearer's experience was a lot closer to that. Corsets were the standard. Most people wore them, so they had to be widely available at a variety of price points. Yes, the very poor had to buy secondhand and patch and mend and alter, and the very rich probably got high-quality, carefully fitted pieces from specialist shops. That's not terribly different from how bra shopping works today, if one accounts for the defeat of mending and altering at the hands of fast fashion production. So let's talk about where 19th century people were getting their corsets. Raise your hands in the audience if you've ever bought a bra from Sears. Really? Well, it was probably Mom buying it for me, but yeah, I think so. Oh, well, that puts me and anyone else who just raised their hand in a not so small group of people who've bought supportive undergarments from the same place as the Victorians. The Sears Roebuck catalog was basically the Amazon of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Consumers could mail order just about anything under the sun. This was a big deal for rural Americans with limited access and education, since the company had a policy of filling all orders, regardless of the writer's literacy level, and would ship pretty much anywhere they could. It also made a big difference for Black Americans who were often refused service by racist white shop owners, but could place mail orders without race ever coming up. Sears Roebuck sold everything from basic pantry items to building materials and clothing, including corsets. Their ads describe materials, color, construction details like type and placement of boning, and firmly state, "The wise woman always selects a corset proportioned to her figure. Get the right shape and you will have no trouble about the fit." Their corsets come in standardized sizes 18 to 30-inch waist measure, with a plus size range going up to 36 inches. Not sure if that's the size the corset measured, meaning the wearer would be a few inches larger, or the intended size of the wearer without corset, or the wearer with corset on. Take pity on historians and be more specific. This is pretty much all the same sort of info you'd expect to see in a modern bra catalog. What material is it? How is it constructed? What body type is it meant for? And what sizes it comes in, plus an image of what it looks like. Swap out details like French sateen for nylon and lycra, and you're looking at something very similar. Sears Roebuck catalogs give a detailed record of mass-produced corsetry, but they certainly weren't the first to do it. In the early days of industrialization, corset making appears to have been handled much like other clothing production. Some people economized by making their own, as evidenced by patterns for stays and corsets in Godey's Lady's Book, a popular 19th century women's magazine. They were sometimes traded secondhand, particularly to domestic servants from their employers, although they were less popular in the broader secondhand market. For those buying new, there were corset-making businesses of all sizes, up to the success of the English Madame Roxy A. Kaplan, who exhibited her corsets abroad in Paris in 1848. Corset shops were common enough in the 1840s to be satirized, such as in this sketch by Honore Daumier, where a man compares corsets in a shop window to his current and former partners. Like most other industries during this era, mass production scaled up and up, leading to the development of large corset factories like Symington's, who we know for their very useful digitized patterns, and Ball's, whose products were featured in the Sears Roebuck catalog. By 1861, an estimated 1.2 million corsets were sold every year in just Paris. A lot of the shock and drama around corsets comes from certain aspects of their structure which seem unfamiliar and restrictive compared to modern clothes. The vast majority of us don't wear a highly fitted or structured garment of any kind over our entire torso, and certainly not on a daily basis. So the idea of having underwear that involves compression and steel boning, or even softer, more flexible whalebone, underwear that changes how your body looks and leaves scary looking marks on your skin from how tight it is, that seems like a big deal, right? Okay, bra wearers in the audience, raise your hand if you've ever had a too tight bra leave a mark when you took it off. Bras might look very different from corsets, but they use a lot of the same methods and run afoul of the same issues as corsets did. Are you wearing an underwire? Congrats! You too can complain about heavy steels. Some of my more structured bras don't stop there and have vertical pieces of boning in the band for extra support. It's plastic, not whalebone, but considering we no longer go around hunting whales as if they're an infinite resource, that's probably a good thing. Bras absolutely do change the way we look under clothes, and they always have, from the bullet bras of the 50s to the molded cups and push-up styles popular today. I'm sorry. Don't lie to them, you're not sorry. You're right. I'm really not. If you actually think that this is what human bodies look like, I am going to question whether you've ever seen one without clothes on in real life. As far as leaving marks, a key thing to point out here is that despite what period dramas would have you think, pretty much no one wore a corset without something under it like a chemise. This kept the corset clean and prevented chafing. Bras, on the other hand, we wear next to the skin, although I have heard of modern folks finding it much more comfortable to wear a bra over a camisole or tank top. I'm still trying to trace a source for where I heard this, so please do take it with a grain of salt. It's possible a lot of our visual evidence for pre-1950s bras being worn next to the skin exists for the same reason that period dramas kept putting actresses in corsets without a chemise underneath, to show more skin. If an actress or performer was taking clothes off, they could remove the slip that covered them from shoulders to knees and still have something on underneath. So it's not that bra wearers don't have any of these issues we talk about with uncomfortable corsets. We just accept that part of wearing bras is finding ones you can live with that don't dig in or fit badly. So why do we assume corset wearers would have felt differently? This is not to say corset wearers never had these kinds of issues, because they absolutely did. Corset ads from the 19th century frequently talk about how comfortable their brand's corsets are, which shows that it was a relevant concern for consumers. Some of them leave it more vague and just want you to know that they make the best stuff, but some of them go into detail about what makes their corsets better than the competition. One such ad from a Mrs. Follett in the 1830s describes India rubber corsets, which substitute perfect ease and freedom in place of awkward restraint. We also have a good number of corsets that were manufactured with a minimum of boning for improved mobility. Symington's Pretty Housemaid model is especially well known, was marketed to women working in domestic service, and claimed to be the strongest and cheapest corset ever made. Jobs like this could be very physical, so using flexible cording instead of boning made things easier for the wearer, and meant the corset was less likely to be ruined by snapped bones. Bra ads today are focused less on strength, but they are just as happy to tell you how comfortable they are as their Victorian counterparts. One bra ad I saw recently on Instagram showed off how stretchy the sides of the band were. Check out the stretchy sides on this corset by Balls from around 1885, which had shirred elastic. Corsets are often compared to push-up bras as far as bust support, while it's true that they did lift the bust to heights that modern bras struggle to achieve. This is what happens when you try to hold an entire human bust up with two itty-bitty spaghetti straps and a band that's not wide enough to support from underneath. The parallels don't end there. Early 20th century Gibson girl fashions, which you can see me make a corset for here, practically required push-up padding to create the fashionable pigeon-breasted silhouette. If you still needed help reaching the less chest-heavy fashionable proportions of the 1880s and 90s, corset manufacturers were more than happy to provide an extra boost, whether that was in the form of regulators placed in the bust or a shaped adjustable cup design. Today, most people doing physical work would expect to wear a sports bra, but don't worry, there were plenty of sports corsets too. The Ferris Good Sense waist, which Shannon Makes has recreated and put through its paces, was a corset specifically intended for physical activity. It's one of the best known athletic corsets, but it certainly wasn't the only one. As it turns out, quite a few of the specialized bra varieties we're used to were mirrored in corset ads. Who else remembers wearing training bras as a young teenager? These young ladies' corsets have expanding bust cups with no boning or cording, only gathered fabric, and are just the corset for growing girls. Lounge bras and bralettes? Fashion magazines such as De Gracieuses and Deo Bazar published patterns for morning corsets and negligee corsets for wear under dressing gowns or tea gowns. Some of these resemble ordinary corsets with less boning and softer fastenings, whereas this one from 1889 has no boning at all and doesn't look too different from a bra. Nursing and maternity bras? Considering people spent a lot of time being pregnant, I'd be shocked if corsets weren't being made for it as soon as industrialization made it feasible. Multiple companies made nursing corsets which opened at the bust. There were even maternity corsets that offered back and belly support during pregnancy, like these adjustable or easy to expand corsets for recently married ladies. Worried about visible undergarment lines through your clothes? The Victorians were too. One Gwen Raverat writes in her memoirs, with some frustration, their dresses were always made too tight, and their stays showed in a sharp ledge across the middle of their backs. However, where we have seamless underwear to solve this problem, I doubt the seamless corset manufactured by Symington was intended to solve it. Rather than avoiding lines, I think it was meant to save on production costs. It's very much like an ordinary corset, but was woven into shape rather than sewn from pieces, although like modern seamless bras, it was quite flexible. The more 19th century society became comfortable discussing undergarments in print, the more similarities we start to see to bra ads, from the ordinary to the utterly absurd, presented in ascending order of how hard I laughed. First, a letter to the Indianapolis Journal on June 10th, 1894, entitled A Plea for the Corset. It's amusing in the way that Victorian-era letters to the editor often are, with much talk of more than usually trying husbands, and what ought to be done about them. Is the answer, put the husband in a corset? No, how would that help? Well, maybe it would. Okay, despite what the author of this letter seems to think, corsets are not going to solve your relationship troubles, no matter who's wearing them. But that's not even why I mentioned this letter. The author goes on at length about the ideal materials and colors for corsetry, saying that a woman in her corset and petticoat is a subject for a poet. Thanks to the Sears Roebuck ads, we know that white, black, and drab were some of the most readily available colors. But corsets of this era could be quite flashy and decorative. For daily winter wear, the rich shades of warm color, orange, mazarine blue, cardinal, myrtle, and many other similar ones answer admirably, especially if the silk petticoats are made to match as they ought to be. Obviously, we still agree with this author in one respect, because look at this. Just like the Victorians, we love the look of matchy-matchy colorful lingerie, even if it's not something we ourselves wear all the time. I doubt the average 19th century person had the budget for a variety of brightly colored matching silk corset and petticoat sets to wear every single day, but you might have one or two, you know, just like modern folks do when you intend to be seen in your underthings by someone whose opinion you value. Really, I just think it's funny that the supposedly prudish and buttoned-up Victorians were extolling the virtues of sexy lingerie sets in the daily newspaper, even if the writer's point, that being wear pretty underthings and your boyfriend will stop acting up, is probably something we've all heard before. On the topic of colorful underthings, the French artist Henri de Montaut, were he not many years dead, is probably judging you for your bra color. In a series of centerfolds in the magazine La Vie Parisienne from the 1880s, he goes into great detail about what the color and material of your corset says about you, with illustrative illustrations. I don't speak French, except for swear words in 2 dialects. So I owe thanks to Liz of Liz Capism for her translation help. Monsieur de Montaut begins by saying the best thing would be to go corsetless, but you should only do this if you look the same without one, which is rare. I think he is joined by many modern men in that sentiment, except at least de Montaut understands how rare it is. Apparently, white satin is the king of corsets and is honest, which I don't totally understand, while black satin is simply ugly, the corset of a woman who wants, without succeeding, to unite elegance with economy, ideal for the little laundress who intends to do wrong. And a corset of tea rose-colored satin— hey, that sounds familiar. Yeah, I guess it does. Apparently it is very elegant and extremely becoming, evidently destined to be seen. Well, you did pose in your underthings and put it on the internet, so yeah, I guess technically he's not wrong. Of course, there are no shortage of lingerie ads that would like to tell you how much more interesting your personal life could be if you gave them your business. Given our modern day comfort with displaying sexuality for advertising's sake, it's not unusual for lingerie companies to just photograph models wearing their product while entangled with other pretty people. The Edwardians would like to raise you this. An ad by the Warner Brothers Corset Company in 1901. Just look at it for a second and tell me you don't see it. Apparently there was some small outcry when this ad was published about the little boy not having clothes on, because that's definitely going to make this picture any less, well, explicit about the results of purchasing this particular brand of corset. Ha! Maybe you need one. Excuse you! I'm so sorry, I don't know what they put in her tea this morning. All this is basically to say, if you want to know how the average Victorian-era person thought about corsets, just think about how you feel about bras. They can be gloriously supportive and make you look amazing and put shapes under your clothes that human bodies just don't do without help. And they can also be uncomfortable, difficult to fit well, dig in, and leave scary looking marks on your skin. You can probably move around decently well in a daily wear one, but perhaps less well in one that's meant to go under a formal evening gown, and you'll most likely want something specialized for doing sports. Some especially extra fashion icons take them to extremes, and even with a well-fitted one, it can be really nice to take it off at the end of a long day. You're not going to get one consistent single view of something as widespread as underwear that like half of a society wears every day. That's just too many people who will have too many different experiences. We're back to the note that I close out like half my videos on. No matter how different the past might have been, people were still fundamentally people. Which means if you imagine talking about bras with your fellow bra wearers, swap out the relevant material details and there's your answer as to whether corsets were torture or magically comfortable. To say corsets were just bras isn't to say they were perfect or even a whole lot better. It's to say they were everyday and ordinary and boring, and that doesn't make for very effective clickbait. Hot take dropped. Hit the like button and share this with your friends to support nuance and truth in historical discourse rather than, well, the sort of clickbait you see in corset and bra ads. Tell me in the comments, is it weird to ask my audience to talk about their bra shopping tips? Maybe tell me that in the comments. Subscribe for your regularly scheduled dose of fashion history sass, and check out my Patreon if you want to support the channel and get those sweet, sweet source notes. Also, thank you to Brooklinen for sponsoring this video and giving me comfy sheets to nap in after this marathon of underwear ads. Brooklinen is giving you $20 off any order over $100 with my code SNAPPY20 at checkout. Link is in the description. And now I gotta go do something about her. Look, I'm just saying, you always talk about how impossible dating is. Shut up! Ow.